We are live. Welcome to Sacred Business Stories. This is our weekly Substack series where we have an honest conversation with entrepreneurs about what it looks like to build a business that's aligned with your deepest truth. And yeah, today we're joined by artist Maria Gerke. We will share more about her here in a minute, but we'll just take a few moments to let people join. And yeah, welcome Janine, Michael, Greg. Nice.
Yes.
Some names I haven't seen before, so maybe some Maria fans in the house. I don't know.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Yeah, this is a very special moment. He was just saying that how this is like his favorite moment of the week. And really like we created this space so people doing cool stuff can inspire us and can also inspire you. Yes, Maria, go. Hello, so too. Celebration.
Yes.
So yes, like yeah, like this is basically like our intention to bring inspiration forward so you can see in others and see that you're like capable of, bringing all of who you are forward. And if you have the intention, it doesn't need to be your business, it could be a project. There's like many ways that you can share that with people. So yeah, I'm very excited because Maria's work is like very, very special, very, very unique. I was lucky enough to experience that, so I'm very excited for her to share her story here.
Yeah, yeah. So a little bit about Maria. For those of you that haven't had a chance to experience her work, she is a watercolor artist, I believe from Milwaukee, originally from Germany. And yeah, she's doing some very cool work around how she is using art in a live format to help people anchor their visions. Yeah, their visions on an individual level as well as on a collective level. So some of you may have seen, I know we've shared it here on Substack. She actually came for the Sacred Business Network. I guess it would have been last month, yeah, in March, and did this process for our broader community, and it was absolutely amazing. Like it was such a yeah, it was a very calming, but at the same time, like inspiring experience just to kind of see kind of our vision for the community coming to life, but also the collective vision of everyone that was there live and how she was able to weave all of that together into really beautiful art. So yeah, we're really excited to have her here with us today. And yeah, I guess I will turn it over to you, Maria, just to kind of share a little bit more about yourself. Yeah, your story and what you're creating in the world.
Okay. Yeah. So, a little bit about my past. I would call it kind of like a passive integration, not in the way of, making everything the same, but integrating all the different pieces. So I kind of started out. I guess as a child, I didn't really have a problem with integration. Children are usually very integrated and well
Yeah.
that way. But in my career after high school, I kind of focused on the very analytical, technical, left brain side of things, right? I went into IT, corporate, very, and which I still do. But I neglected kind of my creative side and anything else around that. So then a few years back, just after my daughter was born, I started getting back into my creative side of my art and like really focusing on making art and trying to create a business out of that as well. So connecting with my right brain, with my creativity, and getting that kind of combined again. And I also started a mindfulness journey with my friend. We have a podcast called Becoming Mindful, where we really it's like our exploration of mindfulness and different teachings and how it affects the world. And so that kind of started the integration with, I would say, the body, right? So you have like the whole body and expanding that then out to community and the world. So this is kind of the integration levels of how I'm expanding in my life. And at this point, I also weave that into my art. I mean, it naturally flows into my art, right? And what I do and how I live and how, I do business, I guess. Um,
Yeah, and just a question, Maria. Sorry, was watercolor always your thing? Like, how did like the passion for painting was all like since you were like a child, or how like?
yeah, I was always very passionate for painting. I did a lot of painting as as a child and teenager. As a teenager, I worked mostly with oil, though. I've kind of gone
Oh,
away from that because oil is just really messy and stinky, and you can't really do it inside without like passing out, I guess. But I've done other medium. I've done acrylics. I've done, uh, I also do things with crocheting, for example, and sewing, and
mm-hmm.
so there's other creative things that I do. But for my art, I mainly focus on watercolor just because, well, there's two things to it. One is um, it's very environmentally friendly. There's not so much that's leaving a trace, I would say. So waste or materials that need to be used. And also, I really love the unpredictability of it because the flow of it, which makes it also really hard, but it's the combination of easy accessibility and this kind of very unpredictable flow that makes it so fascinating to me because there's always little surprises in how it turns out, and that like really resonates with me and my art and how I do art and why I do art. So so yeah, and that kind of led me last November joining you guys and really like really honing in on this, making the art this sacred thing, um, and narrowing down of how I can, as an artist, contribute to the world and also sustain myself, or at least on the path of trying to do this as my main business, and still being aligned with everything I value and the integration also to my life and everything, right? So that's how I found this new offering, which I'm doing, which is the Embodied Vision Portal of really connecting to the energies and the essence and visions, and how people see the future and what future they want to bring about. Like how do they see themselves evolving, and doing that with groups as well to really get this how we're all connected, right? This essence of when you're doing work in this group and you work towards a better future for yourself, like through healing and integrating and also for everyone else, right? If you're, like a coach, how you um, really bring up this better future for someone else and serving the community and serving the world, for example. And then connecting that all and bringing that in through kind of the mindfulness side of meditation and energy, um, connecting the energies and then channeling that into the art. So, I mean, art is generally very energetic or generally very spiritual in nature. Even a lot of artists might not think about it that way, but it really is because it connects to your soul and to your creativity, and and to your spirituality in whatever ways you do art. And so, yeah, doing that in this way, where the art really is kind of this energetic anchor of the vision, and in this way being kind of like a I was reminded of like bards, like bards doing bardic inspiration. I don't know. This brings out my nerdy side. Sorry, you caught me. I'm like love stuff like D&D and stuff like that. Um, so like a bard being this person of inspiration with their word. And so for me, as being like the visual bard, so with my art and like inspiring the people, and then with that, helping them do their meaningful work in the world, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I'm going to go off script here a little bit and just ask you a question, because it was such a privilege to experience you doing this live process for us, and it was like roughly an hour, maybe a little bit longer, of you kind of doing the mindfulness work with us, capturing everyone's kind of essence and like what they were looking to bring forward with their vision. And then you just kind of went into your own creative process, and we got to kind of witness as you were bringing that forward. And I remember as we were starting the process, I was just like kind of looking at the canvas, and I was like, what does she see here? Like, what is this? Like, where is this going? And it was like really not that clear to me. And I'm just curious around your creative process, and like also like I think there's a connection here, point to this idea of like trust. Like for me, like that's really like it's a process of putting yourself out there, and like so I'd love to hear about how you kind of brought that all together, but like how you trust and guide yourself, like to this place of, yeah, self-trust that you're going to end up with this, what ended up being like this beautiful creation. Yeah, I don't know if it's clear what I'm asking, but I
yeah,
just
I
feel like it
think
takes a lot
so.
of courage and trust to kind of put yourself out there artistically. Like it's one thing to be doing that in your studio, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to share this when I have this beautiful thing, but to be doing it live, and especially in such an intimate way where it's connected to everyone's dreams that are there. Like, yeah, I'm just curious to hear how you relate to that, and what
Hmm.
your internal process is a little bit around that, if you're willing to share.
Yeah, yeah, and I absolutely agree. It's something probably a couple of years ago or 3 years ago I would not have done, because it takes a process of, I think, that you first have to go through internally, of kind of working with the fear of being seen, and um, that's a big thing with artists anyways, especially artists that are trying to sell online. Like they're always trying to hide behind their art. And it's a process that I've worked on, with another group that was specifically for artists, and then with you guys, right? um, Getting that trust in yourself, and really um, allowing the imperfection, that it takes a long time. So I would say the only way I got there was with, working in the mindfulness, doing the mindfulness journey, and working with groups like you to help me really, do this, the embodiment sessions, for example, that Carolina does amazing for that. And um, and then you essentially go through this process of trusting the the outcome, because you've done this before, you've evidence, right? And you trust that, um, all the little things in the past where people said, yes, your art is great and I love your art, and even just yourself doing this, before, and be like, okay, I really love the outcome. But that's the interesting thing, and I think that applies to more than just artists, where you start with this blank page and you have this vision, and you start to put it in, you start to create it, and then there is this long time, which in art they call the ugly phase, where everything just looks ugly, like there's nothing you can see. It's just like, doesn't have real form yet, and it's just like a lot of people get stuck there, where they're like, okay, this is ugly, this is not going to turn out, this is it, right? And it takes a while to really get it's like internal processing. It's just something you have to do within yourself to get to the point where you're like, okay, it's gonna look ugly for a while, and that's okay, right? It's just how it is. That's just how life is. Everything's gonna look ugly for a while, and then in the end, um, there's gonna be a beautiful outcome, and then like this trying to let go of what it's gonna be at the end. So perfectionism, right? Like trying to to control it. So kind of letting go of that control. It's really hard.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's such a
yeah.
lesson. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I'm not 100% there yet either. So, every time I do this, I still have to work with that resistance, right? And that uncertainty and yeah.
Yeah, I just feel that it's like the correlation and like it's not art for me. Like what you're sharing is like about life. And then like I have other like friends that are like artists, and often they talk about like, oh, I start painting this and it never ends, right? Like because they always go back and there's something else that they want to make it better, that they see that should be done in a different way, and then like they never really publish or they never really sell it and they never really like put it out there because there's always something else. And the framework you created for yourself, you have a timeline, like even
Mhm.
though after, like you have this like 30-ish 40 minutes or so that you have like, I need to get this done, and maybe like you're gonna do the adjustments after, and that's one thing, but you can't change completely the vision. So like you need to get it right in that 30 minutes that you decided for yourself. And I feel that like going with the messiness and like not trying to be perfect, and like, hey, I have 30 minutes to do this, and whatever I get done in 30 minutes, that's the final thing, and I'm going to put out there. It's such a powerful way to approach and not being stuck in it's like it can always be better, it can always be better. That yeah, that's such like interesting
Mhm.
correlation with life.
Yeah. Now I do have to add that I did add a little bit of some finishing touches after the meeting. But even there, I gave myself a timeline, right? Because I wanted to send it out the same day and scan it and send it out to you guys, right? So it's not like I'm working on this another week or something like that.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I get another because half hour is pretty short, but it is enough to get like an idea, right? To get kind of like a glimpse. And I know a lot of people enjoy watching art videos like painting, right? But watching someone paint for a long time, not sped up, is is probably a little, at some point it gets a little boring. But yeah, and what you just said reminded me of something else that I was talking about with my podcast partner, because she also had this perfectionism and trying to get the editing right and everything like that. And somewhere in some book, and I don't remember what it was, I read something that really resonated with me. That was the quote was, um, "Publish your shitty draft." And I don't remember, but it's like so. That was such a great thing. And then I talked with her about it, and we made this deal. We said, okay, we're going to say 70% is enough. 70% is enough. And and it really helped us. Like, just do it. Like, just do something. Just do it. That reminds me of Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the other thing I want to like, I would love to hear more of like what you think about that, because you did a beautiful connection between art and energy. And the more I'm getting to understand, like I've seen it, like that's my perspective. It's been like a while that art is a form of elevating people's vibration most of the time, because there's like art that's like heavy too and it brings like different energies, but it could work as like uplifting. So I see the work that you do like an energy work. It is artist, but it's like, and even if you talk about like mindfulness and all of that, but it's like the way I see that image, like every time I see that, it's me connecting to how I want to feel, and then with my vision, right? But then I can feel it right now. And there's like many things about like the vibration of the piece itself. So like how do
Mm-hmm.
you relate, like, like, and I don't know if people realize it, like if you enter like a beautiful room with like a nice painting that was actually like, printing is one thing, and then when it's like handmade and it's the original is another thing, and they carry like different vibrations. And if you get something like an object, for example, that's made of plastic and then has a vibration, and if you get something that's made of wood, it has a different vibration. So all of that contributes to elevate the frequency of the place that you are. And the more you pay attention and the more sensitive you are to those things, the more you go for like the things that makes you feel in a certain way, or they will remind you about a certain thing. So how do you like, yeah, like I just want to hear your perspective more about that and how that influences your life, and then how you see that, how art in general can help people to, elevate their frequencies, to reach their goals, for example, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not disconnected, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's multiple things here, I think. One, the energy in art, right? So, and that doesn't apply only to visual art. It applies to poetry. It applies to music, especially music. I think music
Mhm.
is a
Hmm.
really big one. Um, when we see art or when we um, hear music, there is it affects us directly. Like we feel a certain way. It's like it's a feeling or an energy in form that you absorb or that reflects to you, and you will be affected by it, right? And that's something else I've always heard is, it's the art is not just a beautiful picture. Art is kind of like a feeling in form, right?
Hmm.
And that's why, when you're sad, you listen to sad music, and if you listen to sad music, you might be sad, or the other, or if uplifting music, and vice versa. So this, and the other thing is too, if you look at human history, there always was art. Prehistoric times, there was art. This is like it's like a very core thing to our human existence, is art in whatever shape or form. And the materials we work with do also matter, and they can connect us to different things. Um, and what is also something that I've realized, especially now with the whole discussion about AI, and um, the energy is, you can feel that. I think you can feel that, and because there's a connection to the person that made the
Hmm.
art, right? So when you purchase a piece of art or when you hang a piece of art, you're not just connecting to that feeling or the image that's on there, you're connecting to the artist, right? So, yeah, and we know that um, art in spirituality is big too, like symbols, lots of symbolism, and outlets of kind of the creative spirits, right? So
Hmm.
I think so that's kind of on the energetic part. I think of what I wanted to add about the space part is um, having art within your daily routines elevates them. And with music, that's why we put on music when we do certain things. That's why you always, pretty much always have music in any spiritual practice, right? In any religious practice, there is music. There's art. There is visual art as well. And for example, things like, if you have a meditation area or an area where you work, and you put certain art that resonates with that practice to it, it will not only elevate you when you're in there, like you can feel it, that your space is more beautiful and the energy is there, but it will also draw you back in. So it's really important, I think, also for a sustained connection to your meaningful work, to create a space that is there for it. That's kind of the container
Hmm.
of where you can go into and do your work and be connected to your vision and to your um, purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thought on um, art and energy. Um, Now, one thing that you said that I wanted to add to, because you said it can uplift us. I think it's also important that we work with art that doesn't uplift us.
Hmm.
Because realistically, we need to feel all the feelings, not just happy feelings, right?
Absolutely. Hmm.
It's important to recognize the beauty in and the importance of things like grief, right? The grieving process. So that's why there are artists that make haunting paintings. Right? I just remember this one painting that I was so there's actually it's a couple of paintings. I think it's called Anguish, and then the other one I don't remember exactly. It's like where there's like this mother sheep with a dead lamb and like all these crows around, and it's just haunting. It's just oh. And then there's the second one where it's the opposite, where the little baby lamb is alive and the mom is dead, and it's like it's in a snow scene, and there's these crows around. Oh, I get goosebumps just thinking about it, and it's so haunting, but it's also so beautiful because it also shows you the love, right? That's in grief, because that's what grief is. You miss
Hmm.
something that's not there anymore. The love that was there, right? So I think it's just so important, and we need to. And art can really help us work through these things and experience these things um, and heal us. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you made me emotional right now because uh, I when I had my miscarriage, and I'm not an artist and I don't paint. I just love it. I just like it. Uh, but I had like started painting something, and I would do that for like just random. And I remember that one point, I don't know what was the calling, but I had this canvas there, and I paint my grief, and it ended up being like a beautiful, like kind of like an ocean color, like a blue and turquoise and white. And I at one point, like I left the painting behind, but it was so important for me to go through that process and feel the feelings that I was feeling when I was doing that. And then I decided that I didn't want to hang that anywhere, like it wasn't to be put it on my house, but I just kept that for like many, many, many years. And it helped me to process my own emotions and just the way you were relating, like it came the vivid memories. So I'm sorry, but
No,
and I
that's
agree absolutely with you. Like it's all the feelings are supposed to be felt, right? And but then it's kind of like where do you choose to have them, right? And then like your photo, for example, for
hmm
our vision, being on my, like where I do yoga environment, where I, meditate, where I,
yeah.
work. It's more connected to my vision than if I was putting something like that, for example.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that actually reminds me of something that is kind of also the decision of how do you want to serve, right? So I
Right.
last year I used to do workshops that were more around safe space. So it was very similar, not with live painting, but it was around kind of stepping into this inner safe space and feeling safe and relaxing. So, for people that are really overwhelmed and stressed. So I started there um, and now kind of moved into this. Okay, I want to uplift and I want to supercharge the people that want to make a difference in the world, right? The change makers, the visionaries.
Hmm.
to really bring out this beautiful vision, because I feel that's something that we need right now in the world is, not this dystopian fear everywhere. We need a beautiful vision that we can work towards in this world. And we
Mm,
need to uplift each other, and we need to help each other, and we need to have a community, right? Be in community
mm,
to like really strengthen us. Because every single person can't do it by themselves, right? And I can't do it by myself, and I can't do it all by myself with just art either, especially because it's not an active thing in the way of like I grow food or something like that, right? But it's something that I can add to the collective that will elevate the whole thing, right?
mm.
Yeah.
I love that. Quick question, then we'll get back on script. But so as you were doing that live with us, like at what point in your creative process do you really start to like understand like what you're creating? Like when you finished going through asking everyone about their visions, like did it kind of come to you right away where it's like, okay, this is where I'm taking this, or was it more of like an unfolding? Like I'm just like back to my point of like I couldn't see it. Like I was just curious how you related,
Yeah.
and maybe it's always different. I don't know, but in that particular experience, I'm curious what that was like for you.
Yeah, I think the first idea of like a very rough outline of what is going to happen on the canvas kind of happens in that middle phase where we share, right?
Hmm.
Where people talk about what they've experienced during the meditation, and the feelings and the things they saw, and then when I note that down, I start kind of already like start putting it together in my
Hmm.
mind. And I actually did make a little sketch too on that paper. So
Mm,
um, that's where it starts. And then, so I just have like the rough outline of what I want to put where and kind of that kind of thing. And then, yeah, and then while I paint it, it morphs into different things and things change. And then
mhm.
just like, yeah, it's just kind of like, falls into place during the process. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. It was so, again, it was just such a gift to witness. You kind of already touched on this earlier, but kind of, one of the things that we always ask guests on the show is kind of we talk about this idea that it's like perfectly normal to have this fear and resistance. It's not something to be kind of like pushing away. And in fact, if you're experiencing this, it's probably a sign that you're kind of moving in the right direction towards your meaningful work and what's important to you. And so as you're kind of I know you're in transition, right? Like you're still in your corporate role, and you're bringing this beautiful new business to life as we speak. Where are areas that kind of fear and resistance are showing up for you at present, and you know how do you work with that? And maybe how could in case that could relate to anyone else that kind of experiences something similar as they're bringing their work to life.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest area is just the fear of like, okay, so I'm working on this art business. Um, like at what point there needs to be like this transition, right? And that's probably my main worry at this moment is like, where can I transition this the best um, without causing turmoil within my family life, and that's probably the biggest one. So
Mhm.
making that that leap, I think. Um, but one thing I'm already better at, and I think that's something that I've been working on with you quite a bit, is this resistance or this worry about connecting to people and like more direct asking people, and this more direct marketing and direct sales. Um, because that's something that we previously I was focusing more on my message, and then essentially waiting for people to come to me, which now I'm kind of transitioning into more of trying to find the communities that could maybe use my service and then connecting with them. And that's something that I've gotten better at now with you guys, but um, with your help, I mean, but it's still there. Like it's not, like it's a process, like it's building. Um, I think that's the biggest one because there's always this fear of, um, well, what if they don't need it, and then being rejected, and feeling like I'm bothering them or something, like this being fearing that you're being too salesy or too like the snake oil salesman type thing, right? I think that a lot of people have that fear. That's not like artist specific. That's, I think, any business. Um, and just like getting to the point of embodying that, no, if I'm worried about this, because I am worried about it, and I know I want to not be that way, there's no way I'm going to be that way. Like, it's, like it doesn't even make any sense because if you're true to yourself, then you're automatically going to do it in the way that aligns with your values. And that knowing or that realization and like slowly embodying that more and more, I mean, I think that's like the biggest thing that is currently going on. That the biggest fear that I was working on, and that is I'm breaking down, and that's I'm pretty. It's pretty broken down already. I mean, it's still there, but like
Yeah, like I just want to share with you, like we had we were celebrating a client yesterday that had like a major thing, and the how was his words still? I'm a meat. Like he said that he was a meat being
Oh, he said he
tossed
was like
to.
it has like a steak being tossed to the hound or something like this. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like going opposite to this direction because like what he does is so needed. And then he ended up like being this active guy going and like, hey, here I am with my gift. And then people were like, oh my gosh, it feels that I've been waiting for you for my whole life and what you do, it's so needed and blah blah. And then he was just celebrating big time. And I feel that the work that you do is kind of like in the same zone. Like it's very, very different. But like there's so many people looking like coaches and like people doing retreats and people like looking to gift their clients or people just working like looking to like make something unique for their houses for for their own spirituality and just a different way to connect with like the invisible and becoming the visible. And I feel that like, well, if you're not watching right now, but if you're like watching the recording of this and then you're looking for someone doing like unique work, I think that you're kind of this like piece of meat or piece of steak being tossed to the
Just
piranhas. And then people are like, oh my gosh, yes, we need you. And it's not about, well, it is sales because you're going to sell your product, but it's like how beautiful it is. Like I have the need and you have the answer for my need. And then we're just, doing the match. And yesterday was so much fun, like celebrating and just watching him. And I just feel the same with like, oh my gosh, what she does is so like cool and unique that, it's just need to find ways and you just need to, yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
it was really
So
fun too.
yeah. So you said, you're still in that process, but you've broken down a lot of this. Like any particular realizations or maybe practices you use for yourself to kind of get at that space where you feel that you can, go out there and have these conversations? Like how are you actively working on that as you kind of are taking these steps forward for creating more connection?
yeah. So the biggest practice, I think, and that's something I started learning with Leo Babauta in the Fearless Living Academy,
Mhm.
and that like really uh, connected even more with your planning, sacred business planning challenge,
Mhm.
where we go into build this vision, right? And connecting to that vision all the time, like and it's something that reminded me of something I read a long time ago. I don't, from Simon Sinek, Start with
Mhm.
Why. this is really the same essence. Is this remind yourself all the time, why is this so important? This is really important what you're doing. You know, like you are giving something to people in their life that really helps them, um and reminding myself of that every time.
Hmm.
Like it's just, it's just kind of this, okay, yeah. Like you
Yeah.
sit
So it's
down, you feel resistance, and then you remind yourself of this inspired
Mhm.
inspired, vision of this. This is why I'm doing this. And
mm,
funnily, this is exactly what my art helps people do as well. Remind themselves that yes, this is why I'm doing this. Just
mhm.
so it's funny. It's like it goes full circle.
Yeah. So really making that like an active process. Yeah, because so many people they'll create their vision and then they kind of just tuck it away somewhere and then kind of they get caught in the everyday life and don't create the space or the time to yeah connect regularly. And so yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And then and yeah, like what you're creating with your art. Yeah, that's the way I see it. Like I wish we had it printed so we could like just pull it up here on the live, but we're getting your yeah, we're getting your painting that you did for our community
Wait,
printed
I
on
think what
pretty
I
big acrylic. And
Oh,
yeah,
I wish we had it.
our intention is to have it in the space as an active reminder of our vision. So it's exactly
hold
that.
on.
Yeah, that's so cool if you have it. Oh, is that the
I
original
have
or
the
is it?
no, those are the prints. Remember I got extra prints. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. It's my print fault. There we
Oh
go.
yeah. Hold it up for everyone to
Ah,
see. Yeah,
oh,
so
it's
beautiful, and
so gorgeous.
we'll put the image of
There.
it in with the we'll put the image in with the replay of this of this interview as well. But yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
Um, well, cool. I think that's the questions we had. If anyone on the chat that's with us has been listening to this has any questions for Maria about her process, please feel free to put those in the comments. And if you didn't catch the beginning or some part of this, we will post a recap of this, so you can go back and check that out if you weren't able to be here live. And in the meantime, yeah, like Maria, I know you're here with us on Substack, so I love that about these interviews. It's like if you're here with us, like this is the easiest way people can find your work. But if someone's curious about exploring what you do in more detail, any advice, resources, things, links that you might want us to point people to that you could share with us?
Yeah, I mean, we can share my website, although I do have it shared through my Substack as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, Substack is probably the easiest, and then people can message me there too. So
Okay, wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll definitely make sure that yeah, your website and your Substack are linked as well. Oh, there's oh, Rachel's just saying, so great to hear more of your journey and process. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. It's good that you
Thanks,
could
Rachel.
join us here for this. Um, yeah, well, at this point, unless there's any other questions, I don't know if Kelly, if you have anything else, but yeah, we just really appreciate you creating the space and time to be here with us, and yeah, just everything you've brought to our community with your gifts. It's been a real honor to work with you and to be here today. Oh, Toki's got a question. Awesome. Um, yeah, I'm curious how you protect or prioritize your studio time. That's a good question, actually.
How do I protect? Well, I put it in my calendar. I block it out in my calendar. Um, and then I have to tell myself, no, you can't do anything else. Yeah, no, it's really more like blocking it, like it's an actual, like you do meetings, like you have to show up for meetings, not doing anything else, and so you kind of have to treat it like that as well if you want to do meaningful work, like art. Yeah,
Mhm.
just block it out and really.
Do
What
you
is
do it
that?
every day?
Yeah, I was going to ask you what a typical schedule looks like, or how long you give yourself, to kind of get into that creative flow.
So yeah, so right now, just because of the timing and everything, I have about an hour a day that I
Mhm.
give myself. And then weekends, I decided to completely not plan at all because that's just like family time. And if I feel like I want to paint and my kid decides also to want to paint, then we'll paint. But it's very my cookie weekends are just free flow. And then yeah,
Mhm.
in the week I usually have it sectioned out and give myself about an hour. And I do have a ritual that I do usually, um, sometimes not as elaborate, sometimes more, sometimes less. Where I put on music, I put on a candle. Sometimes I have incense. Prepare all the things on my desk. My colors, my water, and everything I need, um, and then yeah, and then usually just sit and like connect with the vision and why I'm doing this, and then start
Nice.
painting.
So it's a kind of a combination of structure and flow in a way, like you have both elements present throughout your week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah. Cool, cool.
Rebecca has another question.
Oh,
Maria, what you do is so unique. Have you already talked about the development of this idea?
Development. I don't know exactly what that means. Development as in how it came about. Yeah, I think if we talked a little bit about that of like how my
Yes.
life of integration, and kind of like getting to that point and um, uplifting. Yeah. Otherwise, future development, I cannot tell you, and I'm not going to try because it's just going to come when it comes.
yeah, I mean, we did touch on it, but like just to kind of touch on it again, I don't know if you did answer like this unique conversation. You shared a little bit about the evolution of your offer and kind of how you were working with people, like
Mm,
kind of like holding space, and then now working more with helping kind of leaders bring their vision forward and collectives so that you can support that energy. But like this combination of live art, mindfulness specifically, and yeah, and kind of working with people in that way, like what was if you were to put a short answer to that, like how did that kind of unique combination come together? Because it seems like, yeah, that's one of the
mm,
most unique aspects, right? Like there's
right.
multiple components to that.
Yeah, I think it came together as part of the mindfulness journey, combining it with art because you know I'm on this mindfulness journey and my art is here and my mindfulness journey is here, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So
Mm,
combining them, and I also feel like it's really mindfulness is very important, and I wanted to also bring that to people in some way, shape, or form. And I already doing art, so if I combine that, I can also use the vehicle of the art to bring mindfulness to people or mindfulness teachings, right? So that's kind of how it meshed and then evolved from a kind of more of a healing safe space kind of focus to a visionary future focus. And that was there's two things why that came about is one, a meeting with you guys, and like your whole program with like the vision and everything, like what you're doing. And also what I was like diving into this whole solar punk thing. I don't know if you've heard of it. Solar punk is kind of the juxtaposition to like a cyberpunk dystopian future. It's like, oh, we have this beautiful future where everyone is like in community working together using regenerative agriculture, permaculture, using green technologies, like solar panels, and that's why it's called solar punk. And that like just beautiful thing to work towards. So as it was like a genre and like a literally literary genre, and then also kind of like a worldview type thing, and then combining that into because that's something that inspired me as well. And I'm like, yeah, this meshes really well with that.
mhm.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, this is really a nice embodiment of really what we call sacred business, right? Like it's kind of
Mm,
you taking all these skills, talents, gifts, the values, the things that matter to you, and really bringing those together in a way that I feel you've created something that's not only unique, but just yeah, just like a very powerful gift to the people that you're able to serve with it. So yeah, I love that, and I love yeah, how you've been able to pull those things together. So, well, cool. I think we're at a good time to close here on that note. But again, if anyone is just joining us late, we've been here for almost the last hour with Maria Gerke. She is a incredible watercolor artist out of Milwaukee. She's done a lot of work in our community, and most recently, her experience that she brings to the world is creating, doing live art, helping people bring their collective and individual visions to life, so that they really have an anchor, something that can bring them back to actively working with making progress on their meaningful work. So, really beautiful work. I would encourage you to check out the replay that we'll be sharing after this, as well as the recap. We will share all the links to how you can find her work if you're interested in learning more. And yeah, thank you again so much, Maria, for being here. And hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Really appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you
Maria.
for
And I
having
want to
me.
do that again. I
Yeah.
want to do your experience again.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Mhm.